what place has passion in human life? How we currently understand passion is something that is related to, it is understood as something that is related to a certain vocation, that we are passionate about something in our life, and it is that passion that we convert into a profession. That is one of the general understanding of passion, that passion is limited to a vocation in our life. Is it really so? Can we just limit passion to a certain area of life? And if only that area of life is supposed to have passion, then what about the rest of our life? Does the rest of the life that we have, does should that part also not have some sense of passion? Or if there is passion in only one area of life, it necessarily means that in the other area of life is dull, is boring, is monotonous. And when we limit passion to just one area of our life, we will find that all other things in our life would become monotonous, would feel that they are miscellaneous, and only that circle that we have ascribed passion to is what is. If we limit passion to a particular area of our life, we will find that all other areas are devoid of it, that all other areas are just monotonous. They feel like a certain rut that we have to go through so that we can support this one particular area where we feel passion. And when we do that, when we just simply say that there is something passionate in our life, when we limit passion around a certain subject or around an object, we would find that automatically all the other areas of our life are basically dull, that in them we find no interest, and it is only this one limited circle where we say that all our interest really lies. And when we put a object in center of our passion, that is the inevitable equation that we will find ourselves in, that there would be struggle between the different areas of our life, where one area about which we feel a certain passion would always be in conflict with other areas of life where there is the absence of this passion. And so passion cannot be limited around an object, it cannot have a center around which it revolves. If passion is really there, it would spread its fragrance in all life. It would be present in our very being. And so passion has to have a deep inward root within us. When we just limit passion to a particular area of life, we will find that we are in a constant state of conflict, where we always struggle to give time to that limited area, and in other areas of life we sulk, we feel disinterested in. To limit passion is to create conflict. Passion then has to be a byproduct of the understanding of our own life. Passion cannot be a tail of an activity or a pursuit. Passion is in the very being of life. And so how does this passion comes about? Is passion related to emotions? Because we will find that whatever we are passionate about brings out a certain strength of emotion within us, and it is that state, it is that area that we say that we are passionate about. Is passion really blind? Is it completely dictated by emotions, or there is something deeper which gives birth to passion in our life? Is passion something that is emoted through our actions and reactions? Can someone who is fearful, who is self-centric, have passion in their life? They may think that they are passionate about certain things, about a certain project, but is there the true essence of passion in them? Does self-centered activity and passion go together? Can one be fearful and still be passionate? Does not passion involves looking at one's fear, looking at one's self-centric behavior, self-centric way of life? Passion facilitates learning about ourselves. Passion facilitates observation. The one who looks, the one who learns about one's fears, one's self-centered way of life, one's sorrow, one's emotions, jealousy, the things that make them happy, the things that make them sad, our pleasures, our pain. When we look at life closely, attentively, that very looking involves passion. We may have certain idea, certain images of what passion really looks like, but then passion is not, cannot be limited to a certain image, a certain picture. It even has to go beyond those images, those pictures that we have about it. It may be a very silent point within us, which is the true essence of this passion of life. A point where there is no noise, there is deep silence, and from this depth of silence that passion emerges, which makes us look, which makes us observe our own life, where we learn about our own ways, our actions, our reactions, and the urge to live in conclusions, to live with certainty. We cannot know anything if we already have a certain idea, a certain image about it. And anything new that comes our way is translated into the terms that we already know, is looked through, is observed from the lens that is already tainted with our own biases, prejudices, and influences that act upon us. And so, passion involves looking through our own influences. Passion involves seeing the reality of how we really observe, learning about our own tendencies, which forces us to conclude, to live on conclusions, to live on borrowed concepts, to quickly just fit everything into the structures that we are familiar with. Passion allows us to be disenchanted, by which that we are so completely identified with. Our dissatisfaction, our discontentment in life, with everything that we go to in every area of life, gets us close to the passion which allows us to learn about life. If there is love in our life, passion then has to come along. But when we talk of love, what we understand passion is the passion which is limited in our relationship to sex, to bedroom. Can love really be without passion? Love involves passion, and not only the passion that we understand within the limits of our bed, but which goes beyond, which dares to look, to observe without any desire or motive, without any predetermined idea of what it is looking at and what it will find. Love has to have a passion. There is no love without passion. And that love is the light of life. Passion allows us to look the monotony, the rut in which we are stuck in. And it is only through passion that we can get out of it, which is to learn about the rut that we are stuck in, the monotony of life, how we live in just repetition, how everything is within the circle of known, how dullness and boredom pervades our life. Without passion, our life is utterly monotonous. And to rid oneself of this monotony, passion is necessary, so that we can really look at our lives which are just which is just a repetition day in day out of our actions, reactions, the patterns in which we live in, the ideologies that we carry, the predetermined ideas that we have, how all of it just facilitates the rut and monotony that we are so familiar with in our life. The movement of life has immense passion, and to understand it, to come close to it, we have to keep the ideas of life that we have aside. We have certain formulas, certain code that we have to follow, and that code is what we identify as life. We have to keep all of that code, those ideas, those images through which we look at life aside, and then really come to this movement of life which involves passion, which involves great energy, which has immense vigor, that truly makes our life alive. We may call ourselves living beings, but when we look at the lives that we currently live, we'll find that life is absent there. There is no sign of life anywhere in our lives. And to have a passion is to bathe in that water of life, is to quench one's thirst. This passion is not something optional. It is not something that we may or may not have. And if we don't have, then it's all right. And if we do, then that is better. It's not a thing of the market. It is like the heartbeat. How the pumping of the heart is necessary for the body, the movement of passion of in life is necessary for us psychologically. Otherwise, our body will go on. The heart will continue to pump, the blood will flow through our veins. But psychologically, there will be no life in us. Inwardly, we would be dead. And so the passion that facilitates learning, that results in depth within us, is as necessary as food to the body, because without it, all we would have in the name of life is just a mere repetition, a cycle, a rut of which we will become a part of. We will find that we are just lugging our lives on our shoulders, not really living it, not really moving with it, but just bearing the weight of life and somehow walking with it in great pain, stress and discontentment. And then pleasure will become our only escape to somehow bear with this weight of our life that we feel on our shoulders. To have passion is to lift that weight from our lives, is to move with this ever new movement of life. Without this passion, we are stuck. There is nowhere to go. We would feel that there are different things that we are doing in our lives, that we are always involved in new activities, new thinking, but all our newness is just packaged in a different way, and it is the same old thing. And because it's the same old thing, we'll find ourselves stuck again and again at every point in life. We would go into something thinking that it will be fresh, it will be new, but at the end of it, what we will find, that we are again in the same place which is very familiar, of the same monotony, of the same dullness of life. We may have completely changed the environment we are in, we may have completely changed our country, the place that we live in, even our name, but we will find that inwardly there is nothing new, that inwardly that same overwhelming feeling of dissatisfaction, discontentment is still present. And the outside change hasn't necessarily led to any change inwardly. Without passion, we cannot have any sort of real change within us. And then passion cannot revolve around a certain object. It cannot have a goal. It cannot have a center. Passion then becomes this movement which destroys everything that comes in the way of life. And that may be our own self, our own ideas, our own ideologies, anything that separates us from life. Passion would destroy it. And so passion can be the cause of great destruction in our life. And it is the destruction of the monotony, the dullness, everything that feels like a weight on our shoulders. It will destroy every sorrow. It will lead to the death of the rottenness within us. And that destruction is sacred. It is the very necessity of our life. Passion destroys every miscellaneous, unimportant thing in our life which blocks our contact with the ever fresh movement of life. Passion brings us close to the life that is always new. That is the source of everything around us. That is the source of every being. It is only passion that can show us what life really is. Life is not what we have made of it. With our own petty problems, confusions, complaints, misery. It is the absence of passion that we have come to call all the mess that we have created as life. We will find that without passion, we will continue to live the same life that we have already, that we are so familiar with and have lived all these years to allow passion to enter in our lives is to allow ourselves to come close to the source of life, which destroys the confusion. Passion destroys the sorrow, the misery, the everyday conflict, and shows how all of it is so unnecessary, that it is just something that we have created out of our own misunderstandings and confusion. What we have come to call and identify as life, passion is that which disenchants us from this idea of life that we currently live. Passion leads to disillusionment of the duality in which we live, of the constant conflict of the outside and the inside. Passion rids us of our dualistic existence. And what is this dualistic existence? To think of oneself as a separate entity, as someone who is different, as someone who is within this skin, and then they see the reality outside of them. This dualistic equation of life ends with passion, because it allows us to see that what we are actually seeing outwardly is just the result of who we are within, and all of our outward perception is dictated by our inward understanding. Passion is what that allows us to see the oneness of the outward and the inward, and how these two are not separate, how these two are actually one. Without passion, do what we will, our life will always be cursed, plagued with sorrow, with problems, misery, and monotony. Passion is the very essence of life, and without that essence, life is just simply not worth living. It is only the continuation of the body and nothing else. Without it, there is no such thing as life. There is only action and reaction between one material and the other. And it is this materialistic, two-way material interaction that we come to call life, which has really no life because it has no passion. Passion is something that leads to death, because passion kills every idea, image, false understanding, ideologies that our life is surrounded with. The idea of me is slayed by the knife of passion. To invite passion is to invite death, and only then we can begin to really live.